Most people tend to think about racism as slurs or being abusive or some kind of action towards somebody that's disadvantageous to them. And we need to think about racism in a much broader way than that. I think it's very important for us to understand how hurtful some kinds of racist comments and racist actions are, and also how they limit people's aspirations and opportunities. We know from research that racism affects people's sense of their self-esteem. It affects their sense of whether they belong or whether they feel entitled to a service. It's very damaging to users of our social care services to experience on a kind of everyday level some of those comments or actions or behaviours that make them feel that they perhaps don't belong or that they're not entitled to a service. Having an inclusive workplace is very important in terms of enhancing the experience of users of our services. We have to think first of all about our workforce. A valued workforce gives a valued service. If I'm happy in my work and I feel respected and I feel valued, that's going to have a knock-on effect in how I do my work. So it's very important to a positive culture that our staff feel recognised, that they have a contribution to make and that that contribution is valued. If I was in a care setting and I saw some representation of Chinese culture or some representation of Asian culture, even though it's not my culture, I would feel more included because I would see that a positive culture embraces difference and diversity and represents difference and diversity. So even if it's not my representation, it speaks to me about an ethos that's flexible and inclusive. Building anti-racism into a positive culture removes us from the staleness of sameness. It enriches us all. A positive, anti-racist, inclusive culture can enhance your team, it enhances your business, and it enhances the wider community in which your business is located, because your organisation can become an exemplar. It can become known and build its reputation in that way. And in an increasingly competitive environment, it's going to be important to retain staff. It's going to be important to attract users of services to your service in particular, and people will, in the wider community, will come to understand your organisation as positively valuing difference and diversity. If you're starting on your anti-racist journey, I would always sort of refer to that very helpful phrase that says, listen to learn and learn to listen, because it's the voices of your workforce, it's the voices of users of the services that can really enable us to understand what the needs are and what's needed.